Alex, bringing you a new episode of Gravity Blues, the podcast for myself and my co-host Ryan explore Earth and extraterrestrial concerns and interests. You may have noticed that we were not present last week, but we have a good excuse.
We were doing research for the pod.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you that research. But yeah, we both had off last Thursday for Juneteenth, and it was a Thursday, so we were like, might as well make it a long weekend kind of thing, and took a trip down to Kentucky. Did some did the Bourbon Trail, did like 4 distilleries, and kind of walked around another one as well. So yeah, it was a good time. Lots of drinking though.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
It's been brutally hot too, so obviously that was a negative part of it. But we
Mm-hmm.
ball out. It's super fun to go drink some bourbon and do the tastings and uh, to do all that. I got to show a friend here. I was like, here's the bottles, and we tried it, and we talked about the Kentucky Chew and your Kentucky Hug, and it's what everyone down there talks about. It was
Mm-hmm.
really fun though, and super fun way to spend a good weekend. But we bring that research back to the listeners, and I'm sure they
Yes.
appreciate it, even if
Mhm.
they notice the miss.
Yeah, and I don't know, I definitely, I'll drink bourbon, special occasions or like hanging out with you or something. Usually got some good stuff, but just like a few days of doing that and doing like a few tastings and the tours, you kind of feel like a pro. You feel
Oh
like an
yeah,
expert in it a little bit. Like by the end, you're doing your last tasting and you're doing you're hitting the rim at different angles to get
yep,
different,
yep.
different smells and all that. So, but yeah, and then we were tasting it, and we're buying it too. So
Well,
yeah,
well, that's the goal, right? So they know
yes,
if you come and check out their operations and see what they're doing, they are so confident that you are going to walk away with at least one bottle because they're like, we know what we do here is cool. You're going to like it. We're going to give you just enough to make you know, a little bit of a rash choice perhaps, but
yeah.
not enough to make you drunk on the drive home is perfect.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, I said we were drinking a ton, but we didn't really get like belligerently drunk or
Yeah.
anything like that because it's so spaced out, and
Yeah.
then you do a whole day of that of walking around and all that. It's like gets to the nighttime, you get pretty tired. You're like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I did a whole day of drinking already. Do I really need to go out
Yeah.
and do more, especially if you've got more like tastings or tours and the following day. So yeah, it's like it spaces you out. But yeah, like you said, it's a pretty good business model, with these tours because yeah, they do, most of them do charge you like about like $20 or something,
Mm.
but you do get to taste, their samples and learn some cool history that you wouldn't probably have learned outside of it. But yeah, and then it's like I think we all pretty much like at every single tour we did, we bought at least like one bottle of something,
Yeah,
which
yeah, you got to.
but we were tasting them, and we were like, all right, I like that one the most. I'm gonna get that, and maybe it's not gonna get drinking for a while here, but it's cool to have and
Yeah,
tells a cool story, I
yeah,
feel.
exactly. And exciting time. It was also a great couple weeks that we've been gone. A great time in sports because we have two American leagues that have just wrapped up their full playoff seasons. Firstly, the Panthers did win the Stanley Cup for a second time in a row. Uh, they over the Oilers, so
Yeah.
congratulations to them. Um, yeah,
And the
pretty.
Oilers lost because they played them last year too. So
Yeah,
this was their second year in a row losing. So that's tough for the Canadian teams once again.
but the streak continues. It's been I think 16, 17, maybe more than that years since the Canadian team won. So yeah,
Jeez.
pretty wild that the Americans are holding it down. Yes, the Canadians have way less teams, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things you think that they would be there competing.
Mhm.
Um, The other league that went to the finals did go to Game 7, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool. The hockey only went to Game 6, I believe.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. But yeah, this game seven between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, it was this was the first game seven since 2016 when my Cavs beat the Warriors. So it was first game seven in about 9, almost 10 years. So
that's
yeah,
pretty awesome.
really cool to see. Last game of the year. Like any game seven, it's like same thing. If it was the Stanley Cup, and they went to 7 games, it's like this is winner takes all pretty much. And at the beginning of the game, it was, we had Tyrese Halliburton shooting lights out, shooting these he had like 3 deep threes. You're like, oh man, this is going to be a great game. And it looks like, if he keeps it up, Indiana's going to, steal it from, the best team in the regular season. We won 68 games, ever since early on in the season. I think they were probably the favorites going into the season, but pretty much throughout the whole season, they were the favorites to win. And Indiana, really, no one gave them a shot. I didn't give them a shot, and they beat my team. So that would have been really cool to see. But in that same first quarter, Tyrese Halliburton goes down with an Achilles injury,
Yeah.
and he just got surgery. It was a torn Achilles, and I think we may have talked. I don't know. We didn't talk about it on the pod, but we were talking about it on the trip about the calf strain stuff, and
Yeah, he barely played in Game 6, right? So
yeah. They luckily he wasn't able to he actually he didn't have to do a whole ton. And he still played pretty well for being on a hurt calf, but it's still, playing one game and, having a day of rest or 2 days of rest isn't really going to make it much better at all.
mhm.
So yeah, it's very, very sad because after that, it's like, well, we know what's going to happen. This game seven was so hyped up and it was looking cool. And it's like, the Pacers fought for a little bit there, but by the third quarter, the game was over. It just, it sucked to see it end that way. Even if it was like the Thunder, I was not even mad that the Thunder won. They clearly were the best team the whole year. But it would have been cool to see the Pacers win it, especially with that team. Never
Yeah.
really getting to that point.
Well, so I have a question for you, and that's obviously this goes to Game 7. It was kind of a surprise that it was even
Hmm.
that competitive. You said the Pacers weren't really favored in any of their playoff games, right?
Yeah.
Does that kind of make it less feel less likely to you then that the Thunder go on and have a legacy here where they're winning multiple titles? Is it like they were so competitive? Yeah,
Yeah.
they were in the finals. Obviously, they are a good team, but is it
Hmm.
like they're obviously not sweeping everybody, right?
Right. And yeah, they had and that wasn't even their first game seven. Like when they were going through the Western Conference, I think they had 2 game sevens. They went seven
Wow.
games with Denver and then 7 games with another team. But they were fighting, and the West is the teams in the West are better than the teams in the East overall. But I'll say this: I think them having those game sevens earlier on really helped them. I guess the injury to Halliburton, definitely made it easier for them to win this game. But say they didn't have a single game seven going up until that point because they didn't really get much playoff experience last year. They only went to the second round, I believe. So I think earlier on in their playoff run really helped them. I do think next year they still are the favorite going into the next season to win, but it will get interesting the year after that because then they're going to have to make some really big roster decisions with how that whole system is set up now, which is I don't know. I don't know how it fully works. I just know that if you have a team that good, you can only pretty much sustain it or have those key pieces for so long until you gotta
Right.
move them off and stuff. So Yeah, I will say I would not be surprised if they won again next year. But it's the NBA. There's been the last 7 years, seven different franchises have won. So
It's pretty awesome.
it seems like that's the trend. Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird because I think that's definitely better for basketball. You want to have as many different winners, who play different styles as much as possible. But it obviously hasn't been good for the ratings, though. I think it's like you want to see a team that's maybe not the average NBA fan wants to see a team that's dominant,
Hmm.
but maybe just a person who like wants to tune in at a bar or something like that. It's like, oh, I know that team. They're really
Right,
good,
right.
and they might go out of their way then actually to watch it, every important game or something. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't really know if there's anything the NBA can do to like kind of switch it around to make it make sense. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how the Thunder um, where they're at next year. And I think the most interesting thing, at least, is actually going to be in the East because Halliburton torn Achilles, the last game of the year, he's probably not going to play at all next season.
Hmm.
Um,
Crazy.
Jason Tatum, second round. I think that was an Achilles as well for him, so he's probably going to miss the whole year. And then Damian Lillard, who's on the Bucks, it was either Achilles or ACL injury. He's probably gone the next year. And know what they all share? They're all number zeros.
Oh,
Your least favorite number, or one of your least favorite numbers
it's
for
not as
for
it's not
the
as bad
NBA.
as double zero, but
Okay, yeah, because it's two zeros.
I can't handle that.
No,
I mean, how you gonna be number zero? Okay, it's like
yeah,
I'm zero. It's like that sucks. Zero means you're worthless. It's like how
right.
how can you rep that?
Yeah, I'm not. I think it's definitely cursed. I'm not. If I have a
Well,
kid and they're like, I want to be number zero, I'm like, hell no.
I
Like,
I will say, and this will probably not be beneficial for Pacer fans to hear, but in the MLS last year, the team that won the whole thing was the LA Galaxy. And in the semifinal, their best player, Ricky Puig, had an injury early in the game and then played out the rest of the game on it. Ended up being an ACL tear, but he played the rest of the game and it was like he couldn't move, but he was that good that
yeah,
they like left him on. He didn't play in the final, but they still won. He's missed all the year so far, and they're the worst team in the league this year. So they went from being the best to the worst.
oof,
So
yeah,
yeah, and this is so when you miss like your star, that's like your talisman, like that. Not a He was not a goal scorer. He's like the creative guy, like how I think how
yep,
Halliburton is. It's like
yes,
that
yep,
that hurts the team way more than like the
more,
goal scorer being out, right? Because somebody else can step into that role. It's a lot harder to step in and be, the engine room of the whole team. So
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, scary,
yeah,
scary time out there for Indiana.
yeah, yeah. So, yep, ended the NBA season. I think both of us are definitely now looking towards the NFL season starting back up, but
Oh yeah,
got a little bit of time, for that about two months until that starts, getting ready here.
yeah.
But yeah, I hear. Oh, and I guess another one. We got the Blue Jackets as well.
This is true.
I hear some news about them, right?
So the Jackets are looking to trade their two first round picks. This has been talked about for a while now, and it looks like they're going to try and bring like a superstar into the team.
Nice.
Obviously, they did this a few years ago with Johnny Hockey. So really sad in there, but hopefully we can bring somebody that has a big effect. I think this team was super close to making the playoffs this year. If they did have like a superstar number one guy, you could see how that takes them up to that next level if the other guys also step up too. Um, yeah, it's I mean for sure exciting time. Hopefully they get somebody awesome. The one thing is about this is I followed the fan pages and talking about like, oh, who would you like to see the Jackets get? Well, some people are posting we need like a left winger. Oh, we need a center. And some people go, no, we need a defenseman. Oh no, we need a goalie.
Mhm.
Literally every position, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, we're only gonna get one, so it's like,
Yeah, what's the most important out of those? It's like it's I guess the rest of the team are they fairly young, would you say?
yes, yes. That's why I
Okay,
think
that's
that
good.
they want to trade their picks away because they have a really good young group. I think you need like a, probably 28, 29, that age, like just out and out forward that's going to come in and just be the, main man on this team because you don't have that right now, right? And so that's what Johnny was when he was on the team. So, and they didn't have a roster replacement for that after, yeah, that accident. So
Hmm. Yeah, I guess like you said they had the two first rounders, but I love defense, but I don't know how hockey works. Are you going to give up two first rounders for like one of the best defenders, or is that
yeah,
more of a? It
see,
seems like more a goal scoring or facilitator kind of.
yeah, I think we need a goal scorer. If you go look at all the best teams in the league, all the best teams in the league have a guy that's getting 50 goals at least, right? And the best teams have like a guy getting like 60, high in the 60s. So I'm just saying, if you want to be in that level, you need at least one guy doing that. Now, we have a couple guys that are scoring goals and are young, so maybe those guys step up and maybe they come into that. I just don't fully see it happening this next year. So like that's the spot I see. Whereas we actually have some good defense right now. I think our goalie, people are always lukewarm on the goaltending in Columbus, but in hockey it's like there's a lot of factors that play into how your goalie plays. So
Mhm.
and then a guy can be really bad one year and then be spectacular the next year. It's a lot harder to judge, I think that. But
Mhm.
yeah, so exciting time. We'll see who we get.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be excited. I guess that their season just ended, so I'm wonder if it'll be if something like that's going to be coming down the pipeline soon, or I guess
So
I don't know
yeah, I
exactly when
think
the
the
draft
draft
is.
is in the next couple weeks, and
Oh,
so
okay. So yeah, should be
yeah,
you'd imagine that be sometime within
yeah,
that time span. So
one can hope.
yep, yeah. So all right, well, yeah, cool to hear that. I think that's definitely what to get people also, for the success of the team, but also get more people interested
Yeah,
in the team. That's always helps having a big superstar.
yeah. Well, and I've always said this. It's always stunning to me how packed the Jackets games are. They're usually sellouts. Now, the one thing with that is they're almost always like mostly away fans. It's because the Jackets are such a young team. I think that other teams just have fans here in the city, but sometimes it's ridiculous. Like I've said before on this pod. I think you go to like a San Jose game. There's not that many San Jose people living in Columbus, and their stadium is packed with people wearing Sharks stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? But but
Yeah, the team's flying them out there,
I guess,
to
but
take
yeah,
over.
but they are usually mostly full. So I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think that's the biggest issue. But if you want to get, expand it here for sure, and they are just they're trying to get a $400 million renovation to the stadium at Nationwide, which would be cool.
That would
Um,
be really nice.
but anyway, let's jump. Let's talk some TV and movies.
Yeah,
Um, I'll let you start.
I've been. Yeah, sure. I've been two movies. The one is already out. I don't know if the other one is out, but first one I've been seeing a ton about. I'm going to try and see it this weekend. I think is 28 years later. Kind of because there's one before it. But the very iconic and beloved zombie apocalyptic movie 28 Days Later with Cillian Murphy. Um, and that was, I think it was early 2000s, I believe, when that came out, like
Hmm.
2003, 2002, around that time. Um, but yeah, that awesome, like top, one of the best zombie movies. So cool to see it kind of get, now it's 28 years later. So even more into the future and see how things have like changed um, over time, over those 28 years of the zombie breakout, whatever you call it.
Yeah, and the first of a new trilogy, right?
Yes, yeah. I think I saw that. I also saw that they're planning on making some some more later down the road. But yeah, this one I think it has Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ray Fiennes. Is that your friend? I always like mess up how you how
Yeah,
how you say his name. Ray
Rafe.
Fiennes, right? Yeah, he's in there. I know his role looked kind of crazy, but
I saw the pictures of him. He looks wild.
yeah, he looks
Although
insane.
he got like jacked for the Odyssey movie he did last year, and so I think he's
Okay,
just like playing into that. Although he's like got to be in his 60s, right? So
yeah,
it's
no,
like
definitely. Yeah, this is very wonky role, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Like, zombie movies can always be like kind of hit or miss, but this one looks like they actually like at least from the trailers and things I've seen, I'm like, all right, looks really like the atmosphere looks really cool, and yeah,
yeah.
looks very tense, So I feel like that's something I'm definitely gonna be checking out. One thing I've seen that actually surprised me a little bit, segueing to the other
Okay.
new film is I've been seeing really good reviews for the F1 movie. So and I don't know why I'm surprised by it. I don't know if it's just like racing movies sometimes don't really land the best,
Yeah.
or maybe it was some of the trailers too didn't blow me away. But we've talked about the Apple movies and TV shows in the past, and those always having really good camera work. So
Yeah.
that was one thing I thought would be a very good like redeeming quality,
Now,
regardless of the film.
this one, unlike I think some of the other Apple movies that have come out, this is starting in theater, so they do see this as like a potential hit. I think is really what that comes down to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like it's getting pretty good reviews. I generally like racing movies. I don't really watch racing that much, but for some reason I like the I mean, it's a very similar story always because, and it is true that that's a very dangerous sport to be part of, but they do love to lean into that and how dangerous it is and like, I haven't seen the F1 movie yet, but I guarantee that one of the characters gets killed in the crash because
Yes.
that's in
Yeah. Or
all of
like,
them.
yeah, burned to a crisp,
Yeah,
or something bad. That's
but
and sometimes they like that you'll be like, all right, this, yeah, you can tell this person's about it, but they just like, psych, it's like someone else, and they're just like dead, and I feel like I don't know, I like most of the ones I've seen have been like more of a like biography kind of thing where it's like
true,
real events.
true.
So when you see that, it's like, damn, that really happened. That's crazy.
Now,
Um,
they didn't. This is fiction, but they did do a lot of filming at actual F1 races. So
yep,
you see the other actual F1 drivers in like in some of the shots, which I think
that's
is pretty
cool.
cool. And
Yeah.
then they just like added on to the track like this fake cars, which is kind of
Mhm.
fun because they would film it before races, and so they would bring on the fake cars with the actors, and so all the fans got to see it them coming in, which is hilarious. But
That's cool. I probably will go and see it just because it does seems like a fun movie.
yeah.
And Brad Pitt, right? I mean, like most of the stuff Brad Pitt's in. So, but yeah, I don't watch really. I don't think I've ever watched F1, but I know a lot of people love it. So, yeah, I'm curious how that, like if you're a fan of F1 and you watch it, how that's going to
Hmm.
translate to your enjoyment of the film. Because I feel like that's a big thing with some of these like movies where it's like based around a sport, and maybe to more of a casual watcher or someone who hasn't watched it before, you know there's going to be things in there that's not going to bother them because it's just they don't watch it. That's not something that like happens, but they don't know about it because they're not a casual
Hmm.
watcher. But I'm curious if there'll be things in there if someone like watches F1, they're like, what, that doesn't,
Yeah.
that's the one thing with movies like this I think is always interesting to to hear the discourse about. But like I said, I don't watch F1, so I'll probably go in and I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and it won't really bother me at all. But yeah, I guess I don't know how true they're staying to the sport.
But exciting that it's getting good reviews. I mean, I love Brad Pitt movies. In fact, In fact, I'm gonna
Oh,
transition
perfect.
here into my Ren's Rec of the week because we've already talked about Brad Pitt. We've already talked about Aaron Taylor Johnson. Why not talk about a movie that they're both in together called Bullet Train? Bullet Train has pretty mixed reviews online, which
It's
is a
crazy.
damn shame because David
It is.
Leitch is delivered us this great movie. You'll be familiar with other work of his like Deadpool 2, right? Or The Fall Guy, which is another movie that I love that didn't get great reviews.
Hmm.
But this is an awesome movie, super fun. Like these big action scenes on this bullet train in Japan. Brad Pitt is doing his thing where he's kind of just bumbling around and being kind of Brad Pitt does George Clooney, does Brad Pitt, do that character that they do together. Um, yeah, it's so fun, and Aaron Taylor Johnson is there. This is probably the movie that is his Bond audition, which may actually becoming true. And then you even got Bad Bunny there, and he just shows up. He's in there for probably a certain amount of time. That's not very long, and but it is very good. And you're like, what is this? But it's super fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is one. This is a movie where this was a lesson for me, where because I didn't see this movie when it released in
Mm,
theaters, and I definitely was I saw those mixed reviews, and it felt like a lot more were negative than
yeah,
positive, or
I think
were
it's like a
very just so
54
so.
on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a
And
shame.
yeah, and I let that determine me going to go see this in theaters, and then maybe last year, I think, or it may have been like a year after it came out or something.
Hmm.
And one of my buddies, he was talking about how much he loved it. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a chance. I loved it.
Yeah,
It's so fun. It's so like I like got through the movie and I'm like, how, like, it's not the best movie in the world, but it's
no,
not trying to be. It's supposed to be a fun action movie.
yeah.
With cool little like storylines and multiple characters and
But it's also like I
fast-paced
think
parts.
action movies in general, if it's like just pure action, because if you this is also pretty humorous, but even beyond those two things, it's a pretty stylistic movie where there's like big choices are being made in the directions where it's like it does the frames of the characters' names come up on the screen. It'll do like big long backstory arcs for
Hmm.
like montages and stuff, which you don't see in a lot of this kind of movie. David Leitch is taking those leaps, and that's usually what people enjoy when that's put into action. So I'm surprised that people were so mixed on it. I'm not sure why. I love it. It's the
Hmm.
total opposite of my last pick with the Parthenope, which is a little slower.
Yeah.
But so I was like,
Hey,
okay, we gotta do something that's fast.
got mixed up. I guess did you see so because I put the 28 years later down and the F1 down.
Yeah.
Did you see those and then you're like, oh wait, those guys are both in that movie.
No,
That movie is
dude,
awesome.
this is
That's insane.
total chance. I literally watched that movie earlier today before I hopped on the pod and saw the notes, and I was like, "That is perfect, perfect."
That's perfect.
Just in sync right there. Um,
That's
yeah,
sick. That is so cool. I'm
and
gonna have to rewatch it then because I
yeah,
haven't seen it.
I just rewatched.
Maybe we'll do a little.
That's just
We'll do an
rewatching
Aaron
it.
Taylor Johnson weekend. We'll do that
He's
and
not in that many movies, but
no,
he's also in the Fall Guy with the
yeah, and he's in Kick Ass, right?
Kick-Ass.
Is he in
Yeah, when
Kick
he's a
Ass?
kid,
Yeah. She looks totally, yeah, it looks totally different, of
and
course. But
he's American in that, right? So
yes, oh yeah, yeah. I never knew he was like actually like like British, right? Yeah, I never had no
I
clue.
guess we got
That's
him. He's in Marvel, right, as Quicksilver. It's kind of easy to
yeah,
forget that he did that because that was a while ago and he's only in the one. But
yeah, different hair too. He was
yeah,
looking a little different, but sick. I love that rec.
thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess we can move over to music. My album of the week is an album called Human Zoo. It came out back in May, I think like second week of May or something, by the band Stress Positions. I believe they're from Chicago, but they're a hardcore punk group. They this is the first.
that sounds like something I love. So I'm gonna
Yes.
yeah.
Oh well, I'll say this. So they're from Chicago. They first album I ever listened to them, I like heard them on a stream or something. I was like, holy crap! They have a female lead singer. She's one of the most like animalistic like lead singers
Oh.
for like a hardcore band I've ever heard. It is sometimes hard to like actually understand what she's saying because
Okay.
she's really really fast, and
Yeah.
it is like she's like screaming at the top of her lungs. So, but once you like dig into the lyrics are actually like really good. It's this album is 7 songs long, 15 minutes, so it is really quick, like 2 minutes a song, if that. I think the longest song is actually the closer, which is just not really. It's a song, but it's not like a hardcore song. It's kind of like one of those closers where it's more like a like instrumental kind of thing. It's actually like a prayer, I believe. But
Interesting.
a lot of this album is some of it. Like the first song is actually kind of different from the rest of the songs in terms of like the content. The first one is about kind of about like abortion and women's rights, and yeah, I loved pretty much everything she was saying, and it was perfect. Her kind of like, especially since she's a female, like hearing it from her and
Yeah.
like with this crazy music going on in the background, really cool. A lot of the other songs are actually about what's going on in the Middle East right now with Palestine and the support for them. So really cool to hear that on some of these songs and some of the kind of different lenses you could take on like a situation like that. I'd say my favorite song is the self-titled for the album Human Zoo. Really cool. Kind of uses that like the hardcore stuff, but has like these like another band I've talked about on here before is Chat Pile, but they're more like a like noise rock mixed with like sludge metal. But this song has like some of these like very noisy guitars, like lead guitars in some parts. It's really really cool mix between that and the and the fast paced punk kind of style. But yeah, really aggressive and awesome for the gym too if you're gonna listen to that. But yeah, if you get a chance and you listen to it, definitely look at the lyrics. Some good stuff in there. But yeah, excited
Oh
to
yeah.
hopefully come out, check out more music from Stress Positions. And yeah, it's my album of the week.
That sounds awesome. I was literally listening to Punk in the gym today. I was listening to some Animal and the
Yeah.
Sniffers,
Oh,
which is a
yeah,
good one.
yeah. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, this is like I said. Yeah, these guys, whew,
They're a little
they're
faster
very
though. It sounds like.
yes, yeah, very 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 fast. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely like one of the craziest albums I've heard
Okay.
this year so far.
Hell
So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, I guess we can move on. I think not last yeah last week also went to see Smino in concert in Cleveland. I've seen him before, but he's got a really cool mix between like hip hop and R&B. He's from St. Louis, so he kind of has some of that southern kind of hip hop influence in there too. But yeah, this time it was though. Last time I saw him, he was like the opener, and this was his like actual his tour. So it's cool to see him do like a full on performance. But yeah, he had a really good opener as well. I think her name was Samara Sin. I think she's pretty new to kind of the kind of music industry, but yeah, really, I was like, I always love going to a show, and of course, I'm there to see the main band, and maybe there's an opener I know, but I love when I come away from a show with an artist who I have not heard before, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my, I instantly. when I know, I'm like, oh yes, is right after they finish, I'll go to the Apple Music, and if I have service, I'll download just the first
Yeah.
album I see or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go listen to this, when I'm driving back home or the next day. But yeah, she was really good. Excited to see what she does in the future. But yeah, it was cool. Really, really chill show. It was nice, just to kind of just drink a beer and
Yeah.
listen to some smooth tunes. But yeah, we also had some had some new albums
This
drop
is true.
the past few weeks. You got the King Gizz shirt on.
Yes.
They dropped a new album, Phantom Island. How'd you feel about that?
We talked about it a little bit in our travels, but
Hmm.
yeah, I did mostly like it. Obviously it's the orchestra album, right? It's got some strings on it. It's just a little bit slower than some of their other stuff. It's not their thrash metal era. They're even it's even a little slower than the last album, which I think all of these songs were originally part of before they decided to spin them off into this new sound. But you do still hear a lot of the B7 or B741 like southern rock. You hear a lot of southern rock in this, and I think there's a few of them that songs sound really full and complete. But yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I'll go off that. I think because a lot of those songs sound, or at least the riffs and stuff, sound for like from the last album, and I think
Yeah.
some of it, initially when I listened to it, I thought I liked it a little bit more than the previous one, but after you were playing the previous one in our car ride, I was like, okay, wait, I felt like the last one, as an album, a lot more like all the songs, you're like, this is a southern rock album, and it
Yeah.
is very cohesive in that sound. And like there were some songs on that, I'm like, it was more the songs on that album. I didn't really like some of the vocal mixing. I thought the vocals were
Hmm.
kind of quiet, a little too quiet. But that was really my only big pet peeve with that album. And I felt like on this album, after listening to it through a few times, I did like it. Um, I don't think not as much as like my first listen, which usually is the opposite for me. But yeah, I felt like the orchestra, it for some songs it worked really really well, and some other songs I don't know, I didn't feel like it fit the kind of southern guitars as much,
Hmm.
or at least how it was mixed together. So I wouldn't mind them doing this in the future, but I guess I'd be interested to see it be like a new recording kind of session or whatever, where it's like we're not using any
Mm.
songs we were planning on putting on the last album, like just like a new batch of songs with the orchestra stuff, and see where they go. Because honestly, my favorite song was one that didn't sound like the southern rock stuff, the Lonely Cosmos song. Like
Hmm.
that was more of their like kind of psych, like kind of the
Yeah.
Middle Eastern guitars, and I thought the orchestra fit that really well. So I kind of want to see them try that in
Yeah,
the future.
I agree with you. I do think for me, I think the best song is Dead Stick. It's
Yeah.
just so full. It's like really pretty. It has the rock, but they do like it fits what I think this was trying to do really well. My only negative with that, and this is more about me as like a
Mhm.
listener, and I've had my rants about singles. This was one of the singles, so this is just one of those listening experiences where I've heard the first two songs in the album already. I've actually heard the last song on the album already too.
Yeah.
So now I'm in this mood where I re-listen to them, but I've already heard what I think may be the best song on the album, and then it's like the rest of them you listen to, and you're like, none of these
Mhm.
are doing what I want them to do, which is based on that thing, my previous experience. If that hadn't been that way, I might not feel the same way. Do you know what I mean about the rest of the album? I'd be like,
Mhm.
oh, this is the banger, but it's because I've already heard it. It feels like a separate thing.
Yeah, I think three out of four of my favorite songs on there were the three singles.
Yeah.
So yeah, Yeah,
Which I get
it's rough. And,
as a
mhm.
music, like if you're releasing music, you want to release what's probably your best, and maybe it's obvious that those were the three, but it's like that just hurts me as a listening experience, when because I know not everyone doesn't care about albums like I do,
Mhm.
but I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it kind of gets your hopes up, especially when it doesn't necessarily match the quality
yeah,
of those singles. But yeah, like you were saying, definitely want some, maybe a little faster pace. Maybe they'll do a little electronic album next one. But
maybe next year they'll spoil us and give us four again. That would be sweet.
yeah, that is true. It has been the past, 12 months or 18 months.
Couple
It's been
years.
a couple of years. It's been a little
Yeah.
bit slower, but we were spoiled. So
Okay. I want to also just throw out there mention Tropical Fuckstorm. Because their new album Fairyland Codex has a few songs in there that I rather uh like Teeth Marche, Goon Show, I've already talked about, it was the single. Even like Dunning-Kruger Loser Cruiser is just
that
fun.
sounds crazy, bro.
Dude,
Sounds
all
crazy.
these songs are nuts, and there's and
Uh,
but in a really fun way. This is a crazy like psychedelic funk like punk band. I think all three of those are kind of rolled up, and
mhm.
a lot of psychedelic in some of the stuff. They do a lot of atonal like melodies, which is cool. But you don't hear anything like this, and that's the cool thing about them to me is I'm like nobody else sounds like these guys, and so and I think that's fair.
You're right. You're, yeah, yeah. I haven't been able to listen through. I've been in my library, but I haven't been able to listen through the album. I almost started at work today, but I'm like, maybe this is not the place to,
Yeah, that's
to
fair.
be trying to get in the groove of this. But that's also on my kind of. I think try to listen to that next out of all the things I got to listen to.
Yeah.
But also, I just love that album cover. This feels like
Yeah.
where the wild things are on
Yeah.
like LSD or something. Even
There
though that
yes.
book is kind of already on LSD,
Well,
but
both their last two albums are like that. They're like very bizarre. I think a lot of their album covers are kind of just like insane to look at, but
mhm.
that's what you want from a band called Tropical Fuck Storm. So,
That is true. They live up to that name very well.
yes, you do.
So
All right, let's talk some gaming real quick.
yeah, um, yeah. I think I was going to talk about this last time, but I wanted to let it simmer, and it actually has gotten worse.
Mm.
The response to this game. So the game is called MindsEye, and pretty much the story behind this game is that it was an ex developer for Grand Theft Auto. Kind of went out. I don't know if he made his own studio or something, or joined another studio, and pretty much made like GTA at home. And that's what this game is. And uh, it does have some redeeming qualities. I will say the mocap, like the kind of like the cut scenes and stuff, they look very realistic. Like they look like actual like real life people.
Hmm.
But I think that's the issue. It seems like they put more effort into these cutscenes than they did into the actual
Oh
like
no.
the gameplay and also like the actual just like how the game runs, because I think when it first released, you could not like play this on PC. It would crash instantly whenever you started. Like the frames are like crazy low, and I think the premise of the game is kind of interesting. It kind of leans into like AI kind of technology with robots, but it's like there's also like aliens involved, which I thought was kind of a cool. And it's like set in like Las Vegas, pretty much.
Oh, cool.
So like the setting, and I thought the story was kind of cool, but the actual gameplay and the missions are just and the dialogue just awful. There's not even a melee button. You can't even melee like you're fighting against like humans and robots,
Yeah.
and you can't even melee anyone. Like you have to shoot, and the shooting is exactly like GTA, how you like have the little wheel,
Yeah.
you get your guns, and yeah, that's not any. And it's like the GTA combat is already not the
Yeah.
best, in
Yeah.
terms of other games, but that's not really the focus for GTA. And it's not really like an open world either. So yeah, it's just like pretty much you know, the off-brand version of GTA, but they released it like probably a year too early because there were so many
Yeah.
bugs and like just things that are just like, even if they spent the time, I still don't think it would have been a very good game. But since they didn't, it's even worse. And yeah, they're just, and there's people like that. There were some devs leaving the game like right before it launched, like them knowing how poorly this thing was going to be like received and didn't want their names on it, I think. So yeah, that was, and I think that a game's going to be bad when I first found out about this game, probably 2 weeks before it came out. Like I had nothing else about it. It's just like
Yeah.
ploop right on your doorstep, and I haven't played it. I've watched a bunch of people play it, and it looks like it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was like, maybe it'll redeem itself in some of the games can do that. Some games can patch stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
it actually ended up getting worse.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I see you have on here the Death Stranding 2 is getting some good
Yeah.
reviews.
Yeah. Some people were saying, well, a lot of people were saying it's, the first one got pretty mixed reviews. I know that. But yeah, a lot of people were saying this one is like one of the games to play. If you're going to play a game this year, you got to play this game. And
That's so
I don't know.
interesting. I'm not
Mhm.
super familiar with it. But I know about the first game, I never played the first game, so I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a
It was really hard and it was a weird game, but
Yeah.
yeah, some people were saying this is worth checking out. So
Okay.
I think it is still
Or like early access.
there's still yeah there are yeah I think so. So like other games, it'll be interesting to see if the perception changes.
Once it hits a
After a little bit of
broader
time.
audience.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because maybe one,
Yeah.
there could be a few people that like it, but there are a ton of people that don't like it. But, and what's cool is, the main, guy in this game, Norman Reedus, we just
Oh
ate
yeah.
at his restaurant. So,
Yeah. We had a Nick and Norman's in Lexington, so there you
yeah,
go. Shout out
yeah,
that. That is
yeah.
pretty cool.
They need to put some more brisket in that mac
I
and cheese
know.
brisket bowl thing I got.
Yeah. I
Mac
my
and
food
cheese is
was
good.
really good. I had the
I'm gonna get
fish
a
and
burger next
chips.
time. I think that's where I messed up. I
Yeah.
didn't get their signature
Yeah.
feature, which are the burgers. So, um, but yeah, cool that he's got. It's interesting too that they have like such a well known like person as because usually with games it's like if they're gonna do someone in mocap or whoever
Yeah.
the voice
Although
actor whoever
that's
is.
starting to become, I think, a little more common to see like bigger actors
Mm,
in games. I mean, obviously, a couple years ago now, a few years ago, Cyberpunk. You have uh,
Keanu.
Keanu Reeves, right, is the
Mhm.
main guy, and in DLC they had um, the guy from a bunch of stuff. I'll blank on his name, but yeah, they also had another actor that was there for that, and so it's like okay, so we are starting to see some bigger names come in, especially because these games are so expensive now. You want to have like another line of marketing, and it's like you bring
Yeah,
Keanu in, and it's like that's already a talking point. Are you bring the Walking Dead guy, but
yeah, you're gonna get people interested. Yeah, because you have like a Joe Schmo on there. It's like
it's
you're
fine. They can
probably
do
only gonna
great
get the.
performances, but
Oh yeah,
you're not getting like an extra bump from that.
yeah, especially when it's like a first game kind of thing, like which Death Stranding isn't. But if it's like the first game in your series and not a lot of people know about it, yeah, you
Yeah.
sometimes need that
Well,
extra
and to mention
attention.
too, Charlie Cox is in Expedition 33, which I've seen a lot of people say that's the favorite right now for Game of the Year.
Yeah,
So,
I just downloaded that.
oh really?
I have to try it.
I haven't
Yes.
played it yet, but okay, you
Yeah,
have to tell me how it is.
I heard it's awesome. I heard it's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I heard the story is really sad though. So I gotta
It looks kind of
get prepared.
insane. Like it looks like an insane experience.
I
Okay.
don't even know what it's really about. So I'm just like I'm gonna
Okay.
go in there
Hell yeah.
blind and see what
Okay.
goes on with
Well,
that.
you report back and let us know how good it is.
All right, I'll try. Yeah, maybe this weekend
Okay.
I'll get some extra time
All
to
right.
play it.
With that, let's strap
Yeah.
in, put our suits on, and rock it up out of the atmosphere into space. What's going on up there?
Well, one of or the longest like space probe, humans have out there currently, like since the 70s, the Voyager ran into a Kelvin wall of like, it's crazy high temperatures. And I first read this, I was like, what the hell is this? Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. So
It disappeared on
what's
me.
a Kelvin wall?
So that's the thing. It's a very you hear Kelvin wall and you hear it's like 30,000, 50,000 Kelvin. You're like, holy crap, that's insane. It's like you think it's like a big old firewall like in space, but pretty much what it is, it's kind of just like remnants of like solar winds. And right
Okay.
now Voyager is in kind of this in like no man's land
Mm-hmm.
where he's kind of in between like our solar system and other solar systems. So in this kind of no man's land, you get like solar winds and solar particles from our sun and then other stars, and it kind of comes together and they kind of hit each other and they kind of form this like particle wall. But since they're
Okay.
particles, they're
It's like
not actually like
radiation? Or is it what's causing it?
it's
Is I mean,
it's just like it's just like a solar it's just pretty much that is just
okay.
kind of drifting from our sun all the way into past everything else, and it's like, but they're like little particles, so they're not big enough to actually, since they're so hot but they're so small, they actually can't really heat anything up. So it's not like Voyager is just like combusting into flames when it hits this like
Yeah.
Kelvin wall. It's just it's kind of just like a little bloop, but it's kind of cool to see like it interacting with different things like outside of our solar system.
Yeah.
Uh, but the headline was very deceiving because I didn't really know much about these Kelvin walls before. I'm like, what the hell is
Yeah.
that? But yeah, something cool I learned was that's a thing, but it's not dangerous,
Okay.
which is good, I guess. One thing that was dangerous, not to us, but to a spacecraft, and I think I talked about it either on I don't think it was the last pod, but the one before that. There was a private space mission or lunar mission from this private Japanese company, and they sent their lunar lander is called Resilience, which is kind of funny. That's what it was called, and it pretty much just crashed into the moon. It apparently they just announced what caused the crash was a laser range finder anomaly. So pretty much it couldn't the lander couldn't really figure out how far away. It thought it was further away from the surface than it actually was, and it
Right.
just like crashed really hard. So, and this is the second time this private company has actually done this with one of their landers. So I
You
guess
hate to
third
see that
time's the charm.
because
So
at least they're getting up there, right? But
yes, they just
because
can't land it.
there are other people in the news right now, other companies that they can't get their stuff off of the ground. So, but
Yeah, yeah.
this was like a rover. It wasn't no people in it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was just like kind of a rover
Okay.
thing, but yeah, I think it's the last two times they've crashed, so they can't actually like use it. And then it seemed like they were able to get like a flyby picture of where it like it's like gravesite is what I think what they called it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny. And, we were talked about the pollution of like pretty much
Yeah.
dead satellites and other just remnants like around our around Earth. We're about to start doing that on the moon with make
Yeah. It's like
just a big old
the
pile of crashed landers.
it's like that planet in Thor Ragnarok with all like
Yeah,
there's just a bunch of just destroyed ships everywhere, and it's just like
that's gonna be
what are we doing? But yeah, that's what we're doing to the moon. We're just crashing everything in there. I mean,
yeah. There's
leaving all
nothing
this
up
junk.
there, not yet, but
Well, there's gonna be.
yeah, but. But like you're saying, this is like you would think that would be the easiest part,
Well,
just
I'm sure
like
that's hard too. You know,
it's
to
hard. Oh yeah, it's hard, but yeah, I just love the name of it, of this lander is resilience, and it just crashes. It's just
That is
not
ironic,
resilient at all.
ironic. But there's like
Yeah.
I've played Kerbal Space Program before, and yeah, once you get it up there, the hardest part is landing on the moon because in my experience, there's been a few times like you get that ship up there, it's like wait, I don't have any way to control it now that we're here, and those guys,
Mhm.
those Kerbals or whatever. Have you played this game, Alex? Okay,
Yes.
those
Yeah.
Kerbals are gone. They're drifting
Hmm.
away,
Hmm.
and that's sad. So these guys are at least getting to the moon, but again, in my experience in the simulation, yeah, you can crash in the moon and lose some Kerbals. It's very sad.
Hmm. RIP. RIP to the crew.
Yeah,
Can you can still play that game, right?
I'm
I
sure.
imagine.
Yeah, I think it's on
Yeah, it's on
Steam.
like Steam or something. Yeah. That would be fun. That would be fun to come back to.
Yeah, now that you're knowledgeable.
Yeah, the young. Yeah, we'll see. I like all my knowledge, or at least in terms of like when I was in my aerospace classes, in terms of
Yeah,
like learning how to get out of the atmosphere and all that. I feel like all that I haven't done really anything with that recently, so I feel like all that's just like poof out of my head, And but maybe it's in there. It's in here somewhere. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I love to see when their next lander is. Do a little watch
yeah.
party.
Oh, I've got a couple of cool little facts for you. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was Domino's. Okay, and this is I'm not doing any research here. I just know this
Mhm.
is a factoid, so it could be Papa John's. But who cares? This is the important part of it. And I think it was 2011. They spent $1 million to deliver a pizza to the ISS because they were like that as a publicity stunt, right? And they were
Mhm.
like, we got to get pizza up there. Well, if we're thinking about it, right, in terms of space exploration, uh, we want our astronauts to have pizza, right? Pizza is a crucial part of life for
I miss
Americans.
pizza.
So
Mhm.
the thing is, we can't deliver pizza into space as a sustainable thing, right? That's not reality. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's a better way, because apparently
Okay.
NASA has figured out how to 3D print pizza, and so we can turn the pizza into uh, powders and we are and supposedly they can now 3D print pizza and the powders will last up to 30 years, which means finally
Whoa.
astronauts can have pizza whenever they want in space.
So was NASA doing this for the space, like in with them in their mind with doing it in space, this 3D printing?
I, I'm
Because
I'm assuming, but
oh yeah, I guess it's NASA, so that would make sense.
yeah,
Yeah, because I was gonna say I think that's actually a big thing right now, and I've done some of these like zero gravity, just parabolic flights, but I don't think anyone's done it while I was on there. But I think something people try to do is because it's like when you're 3D printing something,
hmm
a big force of it, gravity is involved and keeps things, on the metal plate that
right.
it's, that you're making it on. So if you're in low gravity, what's doing that for you? What's holding it down? I'm not expert in this field, but I wonder if that's something they were thinking of because
Yeah.
I know that's like other people. I'm sure the people that I heard of doing something like this weren't thinking of pizza on their mind. They're probably thinking of other things that the
Well,
astronauts could use. But
and I'm sure
I,
that the
I love some
the
pizza
full
in space.
story is has more than just pizza as part of it. I just thought that was the
Hmm.
interesting piece of it because of pizza does have a history in space. Okay,
Hmm.
we've delivered it
Hmm.
up there. So
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder what toppings they got in there. Now it's just making me hungry for some
you
pizza.
you put some of
It
those
probably
little
tasted so bad though.
no,
It probably tasted so awful.
100% it's terrible.
So bad.
I
Just
mean,
fucking.
3D printed food like in general is not tasty. It is really gross. Like have you ever tried it?
No, I
I
didn't. I
I
didn't
mean,
know. I didn't
I
even know that was a thing until now.
I've seen it and it comes out as like a little brick. It's like a little like and it doesn't look tasty and then like it just has
Hmm.
you know what I mean? It's like rice basically usually. And then
Okay.
now I guess they've somehow figured out a way to make it taste like pizza, I guess. And You know,
It's like the Willy Wonka,
yeah.
like where he's got the wallpapers and they all like taste different or something.
I
It's
mean,
like that's the thing though with pizza though. A part of the appeal is that it's like this greasy thing, and
ooh.
like, I feel like it wouldn't hit as like if it tasted kind of like pizza. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess I've had pizza flavored goldfish and those taste pretty
You
good.
know what
So
though? Is almost as good as pizza as cold pizza, and like I mean, it's up there, right? And
yeah,
if you could 3D print like cold pizza, like I don't need the grease, but it
yeah,
just comes out like kind of tasty looking, or not tasty looking, but
yeah,
like tastes like cold pizza. I could do that. That's something that
yeah,
you can't have in space. So
yeah, yeah. I'd be down for that. I think it wouldn't. You take what you got when you're up in space.
yeah, I'm sure.
It's very limited. You're already up in space. You're already doing some cool stuff. You can't win all the time, but if you had some cold pizza, kind of like cold pizza, that would be
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
once in a while.
Well, with that, with the cold pizza discussion wrapped up, let's go ahead and wrap up the pod. Thanks for
Yes,
listening,
sir.
everybody. The pod is served with Ohio beer. I don't ever say that, but it's in the notes. I just read it. Uh, cheers, everybody.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite Ohio beer?
Okay.
Favorite Ohio beer?
Well, last week I won a trivia contest at Wolf's Ridge Brewing, so I'll throw them out today. All right. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, everyone.